I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, Driving Digital Embedded Student Engagement. We appreciate you spending just under an hour with us today and taking the time to learn how your peers are adapting their plans and leveraging their campus app to keep admitted students ready to attend this upcoming fall.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for taking the time today to spend a little bit of it with us to talk about this very important subject. Like Chris said, my name is Matt Wilmore. I'm the Senior Director of Product Marketing here at Moto. I've been here for about 3 years, and for the 7 years prior, I was actually at the University of Notre Dame doing some mobile engagement as a program manager there, and I was a Moto customer while at Notre Dame. And with me today is Rebecca Jenkins from University of Findlay. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, I've been, the university's been a Moto customer for about 6 years, and I've been at the university for about 9 or 10 years. And at the university, we've seen a lot of things change very quickly, especially in the midst of COVID. So the app is becoming more and more a critical part of our engagement platform and how we communicate with all of our stakeholders.
Thanks, Rebecca. Can you tell us a little bit more about the university?
University of Findlay, just for comparison, I know when I sit on these webinars, I like to know the size of school and the type of school that they're talking about. We are located in Northwest Ohio. We are about 4,000 students. We're a traditional university with residence halls and graduate programs and undergraduate programs as well. So my marketing team is about 9 people total, but that includes everything. So to give you a scope of what we're able to do, that includes enrollment marketing. Everything with us is centralized in a overall marketing team. So we work really, really closely with both domestic admissions and international admissions, as well as run internal communications, website, all those types of things. So just to give you a frame of reference on who we are.
Thanks, Rebecca. And just to talk at the top of this about what Moto is about. Above all else, we're going to talk about admitted students and the importance of keeping them engaged and how you can use a tool like Moto Campus to accomplish this. But I want to impress upon everybody on the webinar that Moto really is here to help out. We have a number of resources that are available to you, both to the public as well as Moto customers, to help you weather this storm and come out as well as can be expected. We do have a coronavirus resource center at motolabs.com/COVID-19 that I encourage everybody to visit. It's got all kind of great examples of best practices, use cases for Moto customers, examples of how to use messaging strategies and other ways to use this type of technology to keep your users engaged, informed, and able to get things done so you can move forward as a company or a university. For Moto customers, we also have the iMoto app and i.motolabs.com for all customers. We encourage you to go there, log in, and you'll see all the information you need to use your Moto app to its most or biggest potential, including all the starter kits that we're talking about here today. Moto customers also have access to the Moto user group, which is having bi-weekly roundtable calls, including one next Thursday. Information on that is also on iMoto. And those are a great opportunity for people just to get together, talk about challenges they're seeing on campuses and in their businesses and how to work together to help address those. We also have a number of starter kits that are again available from iMoto, things like crisis response, a virtual tour kit that is almost brand new. Same for commencement, which is just about to come out. Admitted student, which we're talking about today. We already have a new student orientation kit that actually we're going to refresh as well, and we have additional ones on the way. So we want to provide these starter kits as ways for any customer to rapidly add new functionality to their Moto app and solve a use case very quickly, so you can focus on really helping out your users and not so much on what screens you need to build out. We also have customer success and services teams that are at the ready to help you out. And this is the point I really want to make from Moto's perspective, is that, again, we are here to help. We are able and ready to extend your team to help get things done. So if you're saying, hey, I really need to have an online commencement experience, can you help me? Yes, we can. We have the kit. We can help add it to your application, build out the screens, do whatever you need to help get things done. So please ask us for help. We are here to help you. And if you are not a Moto customer today, please ask us about that too. We'd love to work with you to figure out what type of app you need to get started on today to help address some of these issues. So with that, I want to talk about the topics that we want to cover today. So first is what I want to outline the challenge that we're facing as an industry or as multiple industries. I want to talk about what we can do to change the outcome of that, how we can shift this. I want to spend a lot of time to have Rebecca talk about how the University of Findlay specifically is improving their outcome using Euler Mobile, their app. And then at the end, we'll talk about how you can use your Moto Campus app to actually improve the outcome yourself. So with that, let's get into the meat of it. You know, what is the challenge we're facing here? And so we all know this, that COVID-19 or coronavirus has turned the admitted student engagement strategy on its head. Everything that we had planned to be doing in this next few months is really all shot because all of the on-campus events are canceled. There's no way that people can come to meet with faculty or take a tour of campus or have these in-person meet and greets or orientations or events. In particular, foreign applications are at risk because the opportunity to travel, the questions that are in people's minds about really should I travel and spend the next 4 years of my life or however many years traveling to some other country to further my education, everything is in doubt. And for those that are doing admits, those schools are competing more aggressively for those same students because yields are at risk. And there's a growing challenge with how any given school will meet its yield. And will they? And that's an unknown question. But this is something that we're having to deal with today. We have statistics we're seeing in the industry that help reflect some of the things that we are, I think, thinking and feeling internally. There was a survey by a website called Niche that surveyed roughly 30,000 high school seniors and 12,000 high school juniors. Of those surveyed, 36% of the seniors and 38% of the juniors are planning to choose a college that's closer to home than they were going to, because everything that's happened in the last few months, they're not thinking, should I really travel that far? Even if it may have been their dream school or something they really aspired to their entire life, maybe they should go closer to home. 58% of these same students also reported that how a specific college, maybe one that they have been admitted to, how they handle the situation will affect their decision. These students are actively looking to be engaged and messaged by the schools that they've been admitted to feel like going to this school is a great idea, and that the value of going to that school far outweighs any concerns they have about the present situation. And I'd like to stop here and ask Rebecca, what are you seeing from Findlay's perspective in terms of enrollment and yield?
It is interesting so far. And when I talk to other counterparts and I talk to some of our recruiting partners abroad, from an international standpoint, we aren't seeing a slowdown yet in the applications coming in. Students still really want to be there. What we are seeing is constant questions of what are you going to be able to offer in the fall? Are you going to have online classes? Are you going to have on the ground classes? And the same thing from our domestic students. Domestically, the apps I think slowed a little bit, but you guys know we're kind of at that, we're at that April point where our class is fairly set. Our deposits are still up over what they were last year at this point, but we are worried about keeping them. We're worried about yield. We've a number of our strongest programs are one that draw programs from all over the country, or draw students from all over the country. So we are worried about that. Do I send my kid this far away from home to go to school? So it's interesting. I thought I would see a bigger drop off at this point, but there is no playbook for what yield is going to look like at this point. And we're all facing that together. At this point in Ohio, where we are, COVID is fairly well contained-ish as much as it can be. They're going to start talking about opening the state back up slowly beginning May 1. We don't know what that's going to do. If that's going to be a good decision or a bad decision. So I guess the next month will tell us more.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate that. I should also point out that the issue doesn't extend just to incoming students, but current students as well. And nationally, the freshman retention rate is about 75%. Certain schools have very high 80s, 98, 99%, and some have lower than that. But nationally, we're averaging about 75%. Of those surveyed in the same survey, this is about 20,000 college students who were surveyed, 1 in 5 of them are considering transferring to another school or taking off at least one semester. So there's an impact beyond just the admitted students. And so although our focus today is really on the admitted experience, it's, I think, important to point out that this extends beyond this, and there's an engagement that needs to take place throughout all the students that are enrolled or at least admitted into the institution. So thinking about all this stuff, everything seems stacked against schools right now. And so what can we actually do to change this equation? And how can you convince students and their families that trusting your brand and your product to the betterment of their career and professional life is a risk that they want to take and that they're ready to do? And how do you maintain and protect as much of that yield as possible? So what can we do to change this outcome? I think it's first really important to recognize that this is a new territory for this incoming class. We need to act appropriately. We surveyed our own Modo user group that I talked about earlier. We had our last meeting on the 16th of April, and we asked them what their primary focus is in terms of app content and priorities. And the number one response we got was admitted student engagement. So certainly even our Modo community is thinking about this as well. And it's good to see that they are cognizant of this issue, and we all should be. We really believe that this is going to be a battle of hearts and minds for this incoming class. We need to overcome these doubt and concerns about the investment of time and money and the idea of being in this new place amidst everything going on. It's going to be really important for schools like yours to reinforce the value of the degree, not just that a degree is possible, but what comes out of that. What comes after the degree, and why is it important that they undergo a college education now as opposed to delaying it, or maybe deciding not to pursue it? Parent outreach has also never been more important, as they're often the ones who are funding this education. It's really important that they feel comfortable as well, that their investment is going to pay off and that it is the right thing to do. It's also important to strive for transparency. This idea that if you talk to a school and the school pretends like nothing's happening, that is not necessarily the right approach. But this idea that the school understands the financial and emotional and mental situation that these admitted students, their families are in, is really important as well. We must also always work to strengthen relationships between the student and the various entities or sort of facets of the campus. So by that, I mean the institution itself, its mission, its values, the value of the degree, as I talked about earlier, relationship with the students and the peers as potential influencers. So how do admitted students work with faculty? How do they work with admitted students or already accepted students who are attending the university now? And then the relationship with the campus life and the community. All those relationships need to be strong for this to work well. And then perhaps most importantly, there's a huge value in authenticity over production value. It doesn't necessarily need to be that all the videos and the photos and the pieces that are put out by university are pixel perfect and highly polished. They need to be real and honest about what's going on and allow admitted students and their families to see what the university is doing and what other students are doing in the same situation. And so I'd like to turn it back to Rebecca at this point and have Rebecca share some things that you've been doing in terms of digital engagement at Findlay.
Thank you. You want to pull up? This has been this last 6 weeks. I've been doing enrollment marketing for about 10 years, 12 years overall, and this last 6 weeks has been the quickest pivot for us that I think for all of us than I've ever had. It's this immediate realization that what we've always considered as professional looking marketing and communication, the glossy view books, the high production videos, that you don't put anything out there until everything is perfect, that's actually not what the audience is craving right now. It's not even what they're expecting. I mean, we have launched ourselves into a world where doing meetings and calls and chats, it's perfectly appropriate to see the stuff in your, the magnets you have in your refrigerator in the background and be interrupted by your cat that's running through. And everyone's world is like that now. We all get a glimpse into the realism and the authentic person that they're talking to. So if I strongly believe that if all of our marketing continues to be that high polished, it's not going to come across as effective. It's not going to come across as authentic, and it's almost going to be kind of trying to gloss over what is actually going on, what is actually these students' reality. I mean, these are kids that here in Ohio just found out this week that they don't get a graduation from high school. So they know that things aren't the same. So having our stuff still look the same is I think would be a misstep at this point. So the visuals are more important than ever. Like those really authentic talking to the people and acknowledging what they're going through is really, really important. Here in the last couple of weeks, we've done a number of events that Matt, if you want to flip to that screen, that I would have done them this way in the past. We have done these virtual visit days. We've done lots of Instagram live chats where one day a week on our Instagram, we have, admissions counselor about one area. The next day it's transfer. The next day we have a big pre-veterinary medicine equestrian program on there, and we rotate those live chats. And we've set those up really quickly with just a little bit of direction to my admissions counselors. And me as the marketing professional, I tell you, I look at the interactions and, I look at the admissions counselor and, and what they're wearing and what you see in the background, and I want to nitpick it until I look at what our engagement rates are on those, and they're huge. We're getting, in an hour time frame, we're getting 60 students to log on to an Instagram live chat with a Q&A, and they are peppering us with questions. I don't know that would have been the same thing. And I have to put my oh my gosh, I would have had his hair come different, or I think he should have a different polo shirt on, or gosh, the angle needs to be different. And it doesn't seem to matter. They're still engaging. They're still asking great questions. And you guys know we're all running so fast right now that I don't really have time to stop and hold that admissions counselor's hand to make sure everything is just perfect in the background. And it's still working, and it's working well for us. We are doing Zoom calls with students instead of campus visits. I've got counselors actually on a Zoom call right now with a high school, and they've got all the high school kids in a Zoom call, and they're doing a chat that way. It's this idea that you're building these communities from laptops and smartphones, and you do that by being authentic. We can't look you in the eye right now and shake your hand and show you around campus, but we can still look at you over the computer and make sure that you understand that we care about what we're talking about, and we are passionate about the education that we offer, and it's not just some slick glossy brochure. If you want to advance to the next slide for me. And so this is an example of, and this is something we're actually getting ready to share this out today. This is something that a month ago I probably would not have shared. This is our choir that we wanted to show community. We wanted to have this really cool recruitment thing for our music program. So we had all of our choir record a different series of them singing something, and then we've cut it all together. But if you look at the shot, you have people that, aside from the freeze frame and the funny faces they're making, but they're in t-shirts, they're in hoodies, they're in any direction. The lighting's not perfect on these, but I'm really excited to share this out there, because when it's together, it's really powerful, because it still sends that message of authentic community and the value that there is at the university. And so if I was a potential music student right now and getting this, I'd be like, wow, look at they're real people. This isn't something that marketing has glossed up for us, but it's just funny to me, because this isn't something, 2 months ago I would have wanted to produce the heck out of this, and that's just not where we're at, and that's okay. Another example of what we've done here last week. This is some shots from a virtual visit day we did last week. Like I mentioned, we have a really big pre-veterinary medicine equestrian riding program here at the university. So that's a visit day that typically we do it once a semester, and it brings in 150, 200 potential students into this visit day. So we set it up as a Zoom webinar, invited people to it. 150 students log in for this, about what we would have had normally. And the one picture there, as you can see, I actually have I have a videographer on campus, but so instead of having him look into the regular Zoom, we got a little piece of equipment that lets us run the Zoom through the video camera. I didn't know that was a thing until recently. It's not something we'd ever really tried before. So we had him set up in the barn talking to these students, and then we had our students log in from wherever they were, and you can see in the picture that, we've got them in baseball hats, and they just logged in as they are. And we had huge interaction, huge engagement. Those students kept us long past the time that we allotted for it. And when we were all done, we're gosh, why haven't we done this the whole time? There's no reason that we couldn't, once at some point we can start having in-person visits, that we couldn't still also do some of these virtual things that we've learned very quickly how to do, and realize that they've also been really successful for us. I mean, and what was neat is the questions that you saw the students ask, the potential students ask the current students, were very genuine. They felt like they were talking directly. I don't know that they fully grasped that, hey, there were the professors and stuff still on the call and listening, because we weren't visible, but so they still felt like they had an authentic conversation with these students, and maybe more so than they would have had they been in person in a big group setting where you got to raise your hand and people feel awkward. I think in that session we probably answered 120 questions from the students, and far more than we would have had we had them in a great big group with all 150, 200 of them together. It was really exciting, and we all get done and we're like, wow, we can do this. Like, we can continue to do this. And really, it's just this was done just with Zoom, and the TV camera, the nice camera there wasn't necessary, but it made the shot look a little bit better, but it wasn't critical. We could have done it without it just the same. And when you guys know that and you host big visit days, there's a cost associated with that. While I had with staff time associated with this. So that's another nice bonus of doing that. So
that's great to see. Thanks, Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk a little bit about some ways that you can use the app or use a mobile app or a mobile platform to help drive this engagement. And then I want to give more time to Rebecca to talk about how she's been using the Boiler mobile app. So if there's anything I want the people on this webinar to take away, it's this idea that your app is the new campus. It's not that your app is something that you use when you're there or when you're looking for a place to study or you're looking for what's for lunch. Your app is campus. They don't have the luxury of coming to campus and experiencing that person. So everything now happens through the app. And instead of thinking of the app as just a place to send out a push notification about an upcoming event or just have a map or just have some photos, use the app instead like an early access pass to campus life. This is almost like moving in early. And think of these admitted students as being granted sort of this early access to campus life and everything that's associated with being a student, but they're all doing it from the comfort of their home and the safety of their home, and they're doing it through the app. And this is obviously where your students are today. They're all mobile native. They're coming up understanding mobile and growing up with a phone in their hand. And this is the engagement they expect. And now you have a really unique opportunity here to take that engagement in the way that they're expecting and drive that admitted engagement forward into the fall, where they will hopefully all convert into enrolled students. It's also important to think of the app not as, again, just a thing to do a little bit of notification, a little bit of communication, but have this app be the thread as we go into the fall. How can your app or a campus app be this common thread that exists and continues to be their connection to campus, whether or not they're on campus or not, and whether or not they're enrolled or not? You can have this app be a continuous thread of engagement for them throughout this journey. And considering what we've been hearing from the CDC and other sources, there is a chance that the fall semester may start online, or if there's another outbreak of coronavirus towards the end of the year, we may be forced to have some time in the fall semester where we are learning remotely again. In that case, how can your app be that thread, that constant piece of information and connection and engagement for a student, no matter where they are on campus or if they're not on campus at all? And it's also important to think, how can that app serve, I touched on this a little bit before, how can they serve beyond the summer into the fall and throughout their academic journey? It's really an interesting concept to think about, how you don't just go for the academic engagement and then get them to convert to enrolled and you're done. How do you keep that going into the fall and keep them excited and interested? And then developing multiple messaging campaigns to target both broad audiences for things that everybody should really know about, as well as very focused audiences. That's important as well, and something you can use to drive that engagement. Rich push notifications, of course, should not be forgotten. Here's an example of what Rebecca's team had sent out for Zoom Tunes. So it's an engagement piece that they're doing on Zoom, drawing cartoons, and it doesn't always have to be big, serious things. There's a really important piece to the levity side here, and this is really fun to see schools like Findlay doing this, and it gets people back into the app, gets them excited, and keeps them engaged and thinking about, wow, this Findlay is something special. I should really be thinking about this. So keeping your institution in the front of mind is going to be really important as we go forward. we really have to go beyond email to reach this mobile first generation, like it says here. Email is part of this, but students are growing up with this phone and they expect to receive it right away. And we have seen from our own research that the open rates for push are so much better than email. On average, 15 minutes for push versus 6.5 hours for email. So if you want somebody to jump in right away or have a direct action after you send that push, push is the way to go as opposed to email. Hosting virtual events in your campus app, also a fantastic way to drive that engagement. Both on-demand and live opportunities to connect with people, whether it be leadership, housing, admissions officials, but also peers, students, tour guides, alums. How can you communicate that authentic message beyond just the people in the enrollment office to people on campus, the people that they're going to interact with once they enroll and come to campus in the fall? Having all the information about the event in one place is really important. So as you talk about housing or admissions or financial aid, if somebody can go into your app and see it right there, all the better. And then also, of course, the idea of surveying users for engagement, keeping them engaged and giving you feedback. It gives you instant feedback. It also lets them self-benchmark. People always want to see the results of the survey. You know, if you say, how ready are you or how prepared are you? They not only want to answer, they want to see how their answer stacks up to everybody else. So this is a really nice way to do that. And of course, keeping them really excited about what's next. I think it's important that we create in these app experiences a sense of urgency and movement. You always want them to be asking what's next. If you have some type of engagement and then you ignore them for a month because, hey, you've done your engagement, you're going to lose them. In the schools, honestly, that keep this engagement going, keep in the front of the students' minds, those are the ones that are going to convert into enrolled students. Offering tours, previews of campus, it's not just saying here's what you don't have, it's saying here's what is waiting for you. Here's all the exciting things that are on campus and ready for you. Please, you should enroll because this is all here for you. And then of course, always offering a call to action, not just saying here's a piece of information, see you later, but driving them back into the campus, back into the app, back into some call to action so you keep moving things forward and pulling them forward with you. It goes without saying that great engagement takes a lot of different forms. Some of the ones we've talked about already, things like just empowering your audience to find answers to questions anytime of day or night. You'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't be surprised how many people are looking up answers about financial aid or housing or safety on campus at 3 or 4 in the morning. If all you're offering is something like a live webinar or an email, they may not find it there, but something like an app where you can see that information right there and allows you as a customer or as a app designer to see those searches and see the analytics to see what's being used, go back and refine that content over time, you are going to see better engagement and better conversion there. Engaging your campus community to create authentic content, also very important here. And this is the idea that you don't have to be the only one creating this content. You have an army of really talented people on your campus, things like alums, tour guides, people who know the university story inside and out. Leverage them to help do messaging, to share stories, to create content. It can be really, really fun to do. Having, like I said, students and alumni share the success stories, a great way to have an authentic message. Creating opportunities for user participation is also great because it allows them not just to have this one-way flow of information from the university, let them connect back with the university and with their peers so they can get a really honest, authentic sense for what life is like at the university. And then you can even offer things like exclusive in-app content. Even things that are protected with a simple passcode can create this sense of exclusivity. And then once they reach a certain threshold, you let them in and they can see additional things. So all these are just ideas to sort of pull that engagement forward and keep people excited about what's next in attending your school in the fall. So at this point, I want to hand it back over to Rebecca to talk, have her talk about how Finlay specifically is helping to improve their own outcome with their Euler mobile app. Rebecca?
We use our app for a bunch of different things, actually. One thing that we went to about 1.5 years, 2 years ago is this setting up with their personas. And that is something, if you guys have not taken the time to do that yet, and I'll tell you, the Modo Labs team did it for me, which was great. I have a big scope and a lot of things that I have to keep track of, and if I would have to sit down and do all this myself, it probably would never happen. So they were great. They helped me set up the personas. But what that has done, it has really enabled us to drastically increase our engagement on the app, because we can send customized messages based on someone's persona, and then the content they see once they get on it is really designed just for them. We are getting ready to add our admitted student persona. We have one for current students, we have one for parents, we have one for faculty and staff, we have one for alumni. I'll be very transparent in that my least engaged persona is my faculty and staff. I don't know if it's going to be the same thing at your college campuses. Our faculty staff are very used to email, and that's where they tend to engage at. But it's been very, very valuable for us, for current students and parents, to keep them engaged and to get them information we want to get it to them. And we've used it some last year for our incoming class, and this year we're doing much more with it, because it worked well for us last year, and we have to do more with admitted students this coming year with it. But this is a really simple thing that can be implemented pretty quickly, that has made a big difference for us in how we use our app and how people actually engage with our app. You want to go to the next slide for me?
Yep.
With these personas, like I mentioned, we have our customized content now. These targeted, these push notifications. That is something that is so unique to this product. Like we have a campus where the students didn't want to get their UF updates, they call them, and that was the emails that would always go out. And oh, no one reads those emails. Nobody reads those emails. So we started doing these targeted push notifications that the students get a slightly different message than what faculty staff does. And those push notifications are anything from, here's your daily events for the day, to here's something specific that's going on, or through all of this COVID stuff, it has been really essential to be able to send out that push notification. The neat thing, or the thing we've really seen with it is you will see social chatter, and we monitor all of our social networks and everything. You see social chatter of rumor mills going on, when we were going to virtual classes, what are we doing about room and board reimbursement, all these other things. And you started to see students say, well, wait for the push notification. They send one out every day. That's where the information is going to be. Like they'll tell us what's going on, wait for that push notification. And so for me as a communicator, to see that come from our skeptical current student group, it was really reassuring that this is a way that we're reaching to them. And for parents too, we've been able to reach parents. I don't know about your schools, tracking and getting parent information in one place has always been very difficult for us. We have a parent email list, but that's only as good as it was with the email they gave us when they came in as a freshman. But we push heavily to download the app. And so even in our parent Facebook groups and the chatter and stuff, you'd see back and forth, you'd see parents chime into there. Oh, I'm sure they'll send an update out about that. Watch your email, watch your app for it. And it's nice when they're starting to do it, because you're communicating effectively when they're coming to rely on that as a way to communicate. We've used it heavily to increase engagement for major events. This last year, we set up the app experience for commencement. That was something that we have struggled with on the commencement programs. And you have 8 people come in and everyone takes a program, and at the end you just have a lot of things that need thrown away or recycled. So it started with a need for that. So we were able to put in the digital commencement program, and then be able to make it so they can easily go live from there. Right there, their commencement experience was right there. So even if they weren't at commencement, instead of having to track down a link, the go live link was right there. Our arch ceremony, which is one of our big traditions we do, be able to do that was right there. The calendar events and everything was all right there. And then when you know that they're in there and they've opted in to get the commencement information, we would send push notifications on, hey, don't forget, baccalaureate starts in an hour, or graduate commencement starts in an hour, and be able to increase engagement at the events and increase attendance at the events. And we did see a decrease in questions that would either be posed directly to our academic affairs office or in other social channels and emails and stuff, because we're able to communicate it better through the app. For our admitted students, which is a big thing that we're all worried about. Last year, we used the app again for an event-based thing for our new student registration day, and then for our new student orientation day. And so during those days, about a week before the day started, we would push, hey, download the app. That's where all the event information will be. We'll keep track of everything. We had a campus map that was in there that when they clicked on the event, it would go right to the campus map so they could see where it was at. We had like the admissions counselors introduce themselves and had all those modules in there. We had a parent calendar, we had a student calendar, and those days we had huge engagement on that app. And one of the biggest things with that is when they came for those orientation, these student registration days, as part of the open, we had our admissions people say, okay, y'all pull out your phone. Everyone get out your phone and download Euler Mobile for the app. And this is how you're going to keep up with what's going on today. But what that also did for us is, we've done this for the last 2 years, is we have, I would venture, almost all of our freshmen and sophomores this year on Euler Mobile. And so we have that audience captured. We capture their parents right away when they come in. So when we need to communicate to them in the case of a crisis, I have them all right there. I have them so I can get to them. I can communicate to them quickly. And it was really neat to see them engage with the app. We had huge engagement those days for it. Now this year, the difference is we're still going to do all of this. Our new student registration days are virtual this year. So we are doing some of those through Zoom things, but we're doing contests that we're going to run through the app. We are doing, there's a new module that they're coming out with where students can upload their own photos and create a community there. We're going to do that through the app. And the part that we didn't do last year, which looking back now is a little bit of a misstep that we will do, is to put together a structured communication plan for these students that are in the admitted student persona that will run the host of the summer, and doing push notifications specifically to them over the summer, with everything from a contest for a thing to engage with, an introduction of these different programs and faculty members, and little short videos to just, we have a ton of content already out there. Digging back through that and finding something that might be relevant for those, and putting that together in a scheduled communication structure for them, and sharing that back out there, things to keep them excited and engaged. Because at the same time, and you guys know this, your admissions teams are communicating to students, they're texting, they're calling, they're doing all these things. But this is something that they can engage with when they want to, and it's not over email, and it has that cool factor to it. And that is something that with the app, it is our hope, and we know there is that cool factor to it, that, oh, everything else is kind of going wonky right now, but they've got this cool app and this cool experience in it, and I felt special with how things were going on. They must have their stuff together if they have that part together. And it seems a little superficial, but it's true in a lot of cases, that hey, this is a cool thing and it was a good experience, and that all speaks to value. And I feel like I'm engaged, and I feel like I can get the information I want, and the directory's right there, and the all these things that I want are right there, nice and easy. I don't have to navigate 17 emails. I don't have to go navigate a big website and all these things. I can just get it all right there in the app. So I'm excited for us to be able to use the new toolkits that they're putting out, that Moto's putting out here for registration and orientation day. So I think that'll make my life a little bit easier to not have to build it all from scratch. And that's what we did the last couple of years. But to have all that right there, that I can flip it and support the recruiters' efforts, and having a good structured communication plan around that to keep them engaged throughout this crazy summer that I think we're going to have.
I think you are. You're going to have that. I think everybody is. But here's where we decide who gets to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, and one thing before we started using the app like we have in the last 2 years, we really only had about 500 to 600 active users, and we had a directory in there. We had events and stuff that would pull through, but we weren't really smart about how we were using it. Right now, we have about 5,000 active users of an app, and keep in mind, I have 4,000 students on campus, so I do not think every single student's on there, but I know our alumni are. I know our parents are on there a lot, and I'm willing to bet it's probably only 2/3 of our student body that's on there. It's the other audiences that are really starting to use the app. But that did not happen until we were intentional about how we were using it, because we were a Moto customer for about 4 years before that, and it was just a thing that was there that I did sometimes. Every couple of months I would get in and mess with it, but I wasn't putting it as part of a communication structure. But once we started doing it, like we've seen the downloads for it increase exponentially.
Sure.
This is an example of what our commencement app was last year. You can see we've got a little icon there for events, the brunch RSVP we put through there, the campus map, our Flickr album, the Watch Live, all these things. We pushed this during commencement, before commencement. We actually handed out little card things at commencement that told them to download the app if they didn't want to get the program. We had 400 downloads that week. The day of commencement, we had 6,000 screen views during commencement. So I consider that pretty successful. I know we have people from all over download the app and be able to watch the arch ceremony and be able to watch commencement right there through the app, instead of having to chase down the link that we would always put out on YouTube and then hope people can find it later. So it was really neat for us to use it that way. You want to advance the next slide for me?
Mhm.
And then for new student registration, again, this is what we did last year with it. This is the one where they come in, we had a captive audience, you have them download it all. It was huge. We had huge engagement for it. People really enjoyed using it. Again, everything's a little bit different this year, but we are going to push out ahead of time before our virtual NSR days for people to download the app. We'll use it to run side by side with a Zoom webinar, where it's, we're gonna have people talking, and it's like, okay, wait for the push notification, and the first person to post in the Zoom chat wins a prize. Like, so we're gonna continue to use it that way to keep them engaged, and that way I know I have them and I can continue to communicate it to them through the app even after new student registration is done.
Yeah, that's great.
And then these are our biggest things with this. There was less confusion for these major events, whether in person or virtual. We had less questions. People felt like they had a better idea what was going on. Just having the schedule of events, whether it's a virtual schedule of events or it's an in-person event, right there handy was really, really important for them. And this part of using it for a virtual commencement that we are planning to start. We're doing a virtual recognizing our graduates. We're not going to call it a virtual commencement through the app this year, where we're going to have videos from students in there, videos from parents in there. They're actually going to see the program, a message from the president. We're going to do a virtual art ceremony. I'm really going to push for our students to download this app and use it for the graduates, because this is an audience that these seniors, probably not as many of them are on the app right now, because I want them in the app, so when they transition to alumni, I can still communicate to them through the app. We can, we get their emails, and if you've done alumni communication, you got to try and capture their emails and their mailing address, and you hope you don't lose sight of them. But if they're still on the app and they haven't deleted it, I can still get to them longer than perhaps if I have an email or hope they don't move 4 times with their address. The one thing that this app has been so essential for us, and I cannot stress this enough, we all are in the midst of crises. We're kind of in maintenance mode for the crises, but I don't know when it hit for your state, but for us, it was about the second week of March that with very little really full being able to grasp of what was going on, we found ourselves in a very, very heavy crisis. And being able to not only send them campus emails, but send them push notifications on what's going on. We were sending 2 or 3 a day sometimes because things were changing that fast. Has been so important to us. We used to have a text system that we'd use for crisis, but it was clunky. It was hard to get to. There was an opt-in thing for students. It just was not as ideal for this. Only a couple people had access to it. We don't even use that anymore. We just use the app to do these push notifications for crises. And I'll tell you, aside from those big registration events, that when people download the app, the single biggest times we've seen app downloads increase is during a crisis. Like when we're in the Midwest, the weather is snowy here sometimes. So when we're getting ready to go into a snow event, we will always push out, hey, make sure you download Euler Mobile before, because we'll be sending you updates through Euler Mobile with push notifications on if school's closed. And that's always a big driver to get people to download apps, because everyone's kind of hoping, at least they used to, that we cancel class for a day, or these other events. We've had hundreds of downloads of the app in the last month or so, just for other people who weren't on it before starting to download it, so they can be in the know when stuff changes. They can get those push notifications like everybody else. So it's one of these things that I am so glad we had it set up that way, and that we started a couple years ago really pushing for people to download the app, because it's come in so handy to do that. But just like all crises, you don't get a notice on crises. They don't say, hey, in 3 weeks your whole world's going to turn upside down, so be ready. And that's a challenge, is to make sure that you are thinking far enough ahead that even if you get them to download it now with tricks and games and contests and bribes and those types of things, boy, it's nice when they're on there. We've done it in the past to try and increase downloads, where we partner with our bookstore, and we would send out emails or do posts on student groups or social groups or things like that that say, hey, download the Euler Mobile app by this day. And then, because we're going to send out a push notification between this day, and the first 50 people to the bookstore get this $25 gift card. And so we were able to drive some downloads that way by doing it. And we partnered with the bookstore. He was happy because it got a lot more people into there. But what was funny about that is we had a couple of students who they hadn't downloaded the app or they didn't get the push notification, but they must have been sitting in class next to somebody who did. So that person took a screenshot of that push notification, shared it with the person that didn't have it. They came in and tried to use that. But my bookstore guy was so committed to this idea of download the app that he's like, no, you don't get your $25 gift card. You got to download the app first. And made him actually download the app and then show it to him. So, but I'm glad we've done all that, and I will continue to do more of that, because being able to have it to talk about all this COVID stuff has been invaluable to our campus. So,
of course, and I think you've had you've had great examples of a blend of different types of usage for the app that encourage different people to come in. And at the end of the day, everyone's got the app and they've got their reason for using it. But at the end of the day, people have the app installed, and it's allowing you to be more effective in your communications.
yep. And then, so if you look at this is just this last since COVID hit. So we've had pretty good engagement rates, especially compared to what we were, the year or so before that, where, we do these daily push notifications of the events and stuff coming up, and you have big spikes. Those bigger spikes there tend to be the Mondays, because whatever reason people would engage with that daily update with the push notification of what's going on that day more on Mondays than any other day. I don't know why, just the way our campus works. And so you can see it kind of tricked along there, but you can tell right when COVID hit for us, it was right there at March 9th. And so, and since then, that engagement rate has stayed high, even though nobody's on campus right now. So it's been really, really interesting to see that. I thought we'd see a drop off with it, and we're still doing some pretty frequent push notifications for it, but the line there is so significant on engagement, and that those first big spikes, that's when we were first saying, hey, this is what's happening, we have to go virtual. And then you saw this constant engagement and people going back and I think rereading it and going, really, this is really what we're going to have to do. But it's been essential to have it. So these numbers to me say a lot.
Okay, that's good to know. And here's the last slide for you.
Okay. This is something that we are actually working through right now, is how do we honor our graduates? Like, I'm sure many of you listening to this, we can't have a commencement. Our commencement was supposed to be May 2nd. It is so heartbreaking for these students. We have an arch ceremony. It's a big deal for students to walk through. Everyone's got this moment of, oh my gosh, we can't do this. We plan to try and do something in the fall once we can start having large gatherings again. But in the meantime, we have these students that want something. They want a little bit of closure. They want more than their diploma in the mail. So we are building a virtual honoring of our graduates. And so within this app module, we're going to have our program that's digital, so they can still see their name. They can still flip through and have that same feeling of the commencement program. We're going to have a video message from our president. We're going to do a virtual arch ceremony through it. Something I'm really excited about that we're actually just getting ready to send the information out about today or tomorrow, is we are inviting students to record short videos of themselves just on their phone about what their favorite memory of Findlay has been, or what's the thing that they're going to remember the most. And we've actually created a Google Drive for them to put all those videos, upload themselves into the Google Drive, and then we're going to pull them out of there, and we're working with Modo to get them integrated into this app. So there'll be one little square tile they'll click on that says, hear from our students. And my sincere hope is we have this wonderful looking huge Brady Bunch tiles going all the way down where you see the smiling faces of all of our students, and they can click through and hear the messages from their students as they want. We're doing the same thing for our parents. Another tile is going to be hear from your parents, and we're going to invite parents through the app and through the email list that we have to submit a video of you recognizing your student and congratulating your student, and doing all that so they can engage and flip through and see all these smiley faces and people that care about them. I don't know how this is going to work, but I know the app will make it so it works, so it's seamless. I'm just hoping we have a lot of students that submit for it. And this is also content, guys, that I plan to use and then share with our admitted students.
That was my
So
next question for you.
we have this cool app with these like hearts and all the feels of all the goodwill about Findlay on there. Better believe it, I'm going to turn that content around that I didn't have to create. And I didn't have to really prompt a whole lot, and I'm going to share this throughout the summer with my admitted students. So if they can hear from parents and from the graduating students how great experience they have, it's going to hopefully help continue to connect them to the university. And hopefully that's something a little bit different than what a lot of other schools are able to do. We mentioned a little bit about what our virtual new student registration day is going to be. Right now, our first one or two we're going to run virtually. I don't know. We're still kind of hoping the ones that are later in the summer, we're going to be able to do more in person and use the app to supplement what those days are going to be. It won't be entirely through the app, but it'll be a nice supplement that my hope is they are on their Zoom calls and they're talking with professors and getting that face-to-face engagement. At the same time, they have their phone sitting beside them and they're during the virtual chats and stuff, they're engaging with it, but then afterwards they're going back to the app and checking some things out that are in it. And then that's one thing that I mentioned before that we did not do last year, and looking back on it, I really should have, is we're putting together a structured communication plan that will continue to talk to these students through the app from between new student registration day and hopefully when they can come back to campus or whatever that's going to be for new student orientation, and not just leave that summer communication structure up to emails and some social posts and the calls and texts from the counselors, that we can also use this app to continue to drive that value. And hey, this school is pretty cool and I got this and I'm sitting here on my couch at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I get a push notification and oh, I'm gonna look at this quick versus like checking into their email. So I'm really excited to see engagement wise what that's going to do for us, and to hopefully that will impact our yield positively for fall.
That's great. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Appreciate that. So in the last few minutes, I want to talk just about how you can use your Moto app or your campus app to help achieve some of these things, especially what Rebecca had talked about today. And I want to reiterate the idea that your app is the new campus. It's not necessarily merely a companion app. It is your campus. And so the way that your users, admitted students, current students, everybody will interact with your campus will be through the app. That is the lens or the window through which their campus appears at this point. One thing you can do is to create a persona specifically for admitted students, families, everything that they might need in one place. You saw that Rebecca's doing this already with students and parents, and there might, what we're encouraging as an admitted students persona that would just have everything in there that also gets you using Communicate, sort of a free pass to send messages just to that persona as opposed to the entire app. So everybody who's in that persona wants to get information about the admitted student experience, and so all your messages are instantly targeted. You can actually subdivide this too and have separate personas for things like those who are interested versus people who have already been admitted, parents, etc. if you want to further subdivide that message. We encourage you to host your virtual events in the app. Things like a countdown clock, quick polls in Moto 3 that help you really quickly get engagement and get feedback in real time, reminders using Communicate so you don't have to sit there and send out the message at the right time. You can schedule it ahead of time. Embedding things like the Zoom call or a RingCentral call right in the app so somebody can tap on that and go directly into the app to get the conference started, and even information for direct access to presentation content, speaker info, so people as they attend a session, they can go right back into the app and learn everything they need to do to move forward. Things like calendars, upcoming events, information about all the basics, financial aid, housing, campus safety, etc. Uploading photos using our new Moto Photos album feature where people can upload their own photos directly in the app. Virtual tours to give people a sense of what's awaiting them when they get to campus. Even things like quick polls and scheduled content that you can do ahead of time, such that Tuesday at 3 p.m. this thing appears in the app, a push notification goes out, and you can actually automate that engagement way ahead of time. So you can create it now and then just have that roll out on schedule. With Communicate, we want to make every message count, and so we have lots of different channel types to accomplish that. Public notifications that go out to the entire persona, or perhaps everybody in the app for content that really deserves that. Personal notifications to reach out to individual people based on a directory. Nudges, calls to action for specific individuals to schedule calls with advisors or to move forward to the next step. Opt-in channels that people can opt into either by things like a certain interest, maybe they're an honors or an international student, or in a certain region if you want to reach those specifically. And then we have a new forthcoming feature on geofence-based notifications. So you can notify everybody in a geographic region about something that's going on. For example, a volunteer opportunity for people in a certain area to contribute and actually become part of the campus community right away, even before they start the fall semester. Other ideas, you can, of course, and we encourage you to do this, I know Rebecca's doing this today, delegate that content and the messaging to people with those authentic voices. It doesn't have to be you. It doesn't all have to be from the marketing side. It can be from people who can really speak a great great word about your university, and have them be part of this, not only coming up with the messaging, but creating the content and sending it out using things like Communicate. You can absolutely delegate to whatever level you like inside the platform. And then using something like a passcode to make content exclusive or feel exclusive to those users. One big last point I want to make here is that it's really critical to look beyond admitted student engagement. Throughout the freshman year especially, we saw that number 75% national average, but it might be even lower this year because of everything going on. How can you keep that engagement going through the first year and actually through their entire journey? What's really cool about this platform, and one thing you can do, you can set up a persona for things like admitted student, and then without the user having to do anything at all, you can switch that into an NSO experience. And then after that's done, you can switch that into a freshman year experience and keep giving them targeted engagement throughout this. And you are basically evolving the app for them to keep up with their journey. The app is the idea of the common thread of campus life from the start. Another idea here is to distribute user credentials earlier. Typically, logins are given when they show up on campus. What would happen if you gave those out now? And what could you do if you had individuals logging into the app today as opposed to in the fall? I know we're at time. I appreciate everyone staying on. Just to summarize, we are in Uncharted Waters. We have these really powerful tools that impact the outcome. This, like I said, it's a hearts and minds battle. The school that best engages are the ones that are going to win this. And then Modo Campus is the platform that empowers you to deliver these experiences. We also have an admitted student starter kit and engagement playbook that will be available very soon. Every attendee to this webinar will be notified about it, and then customers can also go to iModo to access it once it's available. This will be something free to all attendees to utilize. Both a starter kit and a really prescriptive playbook that talks about everything we covered on today's webinar and how to use that in action in your campus app to make things happen right away. We are here to support you through this pandemic. Please let us know, whether you're a customer or not, how we can help you change the game and make things happen. Motolabs.com/COVID-19 has our resource center. Reach out to your customer success manager. Contact Motolabs. Just go to motolabs.com. Whatever you need to do, just reach out to us and let us help. We are here to help you. And with that, I want to thank everybody for their time. We are 1 minute over. And with that, I wanted to see, for those of you who are still on, Chris, do we have any questions that have come in?
How did you get the word out to admitted students and parents about the app? And do you have any suggestions for how we would go about doing this?
We did a couple of different things before we had them come. Like, we're already pushing the app. We work with our admissions team. We have the counselors text them instructions on how to download the app. We have an email and a little short video we did that we put into the email that shows them the app and kind of some cool stuff in it and gets them hopefully interested in downloading the app. And then whenever we have events, and it was easier when they were in person, that we actually sat there and said, get your phone out and download this app. But we will, as we start off our new student registration event that we have coming up next week, the first part of it is, okay, everyone, we have an app, get out your phone, and download the app now if you can. So we over communicate that every step along the way to get them engaged with it right away.
Perfect.
Again, these aren't things that cost any money. They just cost a little bit of time. We put it in the we have a Facebook group for incoming students. We put a post in the Facebook group as well. So
yeah, I think it's okay to over message there a little bit. They'll pick it up, and then once they have it, they're in.
Great. Thank you to both of you. So I think that's all we have time for today. Yeah, appreciate everyone's time, and thank you for choosing to spend it with us. Once again, we'll follow up with any questions that you submitted with us directly to you, and then everyone will be receiving a recording of this webinar directly to their inbox once it's available. Thank you, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their Wednesday.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.